Welcome to the Death Taco Podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and today I'm joined by Nick. Feeling today, man?
Reoccurring guest. What's up? I'm feeling great.
Practically co-host at this point.
I need like a title because you're host, and I don't know like what I am.
Well, I'm the captain, so you can be my cabin boy.
That sounds sexual.
No, you're right. Booty holder.
The booty holder. That sounds the opposite sexual.
Sounds like the captain's other title. I don't know, dude. Just be fucking co-host, I guess, at this point.
No, co-host is too elevated. We'll figure it out. We'll do some workshopping on that.
Exactly. Today we've gathered to discuss the 1987 British supernatural horror film, Hellraiser, which is, I feel like it's up there, not necessarily on the Mount Rushmore, but it's pretty up there in terms of classics.
Yeah, as far as like iconic imagery from a horror movie goes, the image of Hellraiser, Pinhead, the main Cenobite, whatever you want to call him, the main bad guy, is like one of the more iconic images in horror, I believe, especially from that era.
You're actually right, because the movie, probably now that I think about it, isn't that known, but it's more so the main antagonist, Pinhead.
Yeah, so let me tell you. So I had, like, it's funny. I had never seen this movie.
You've never seen it?
I had never seen Hellraiser. I'd only seen like little clips of maybe. I don't even know if it was from the first one. I like. There's so many sequels. I don't know if that's the clip I saw from it. So going in and knowing the only thing I had in my mind was Pinhead, and so I had no fucking clue what this was about.
So what did you like? Did you have any assumptions about what you were going to see? Were you like, this is just going to be like a standard cheesy old movie?
From what I thought, just because the only clips I'd ever seen is just Pinhead in like the underworld, the other universe or whatever, I thought it was going to take place in a different universe and maybe just be in some like hellscape the whole time, and someone had to go into the hellscape, and then from my understanding that was what the movie's going to be.
Yeah, that's what the second one's about. But yeah, not this one. This one's definitely more grounded, correct?
Yeah, it was like an actual grounded horror movie that just, had elements of supernaturalness, but it wasn't like this insane, like multi-dimensional. It was, but it didn't really like leave you feeling either A, confused, or B, being like, this is way too much for one movie.
Yeah, like I feel like it was more of a thriller, more suspense with the supernatural stuff more in the background until, of course, it's not.
It's not really in the background.
I mean, no, it's not really in the background.
Sorry, step on the toes immediately there, but it is. I didn't even think of it as like supernatural thriller. I thought it was more of like it more like belonged into like the realm of like the supernatural stuff was there, but it was more of like a basic instinct, like a sexual thriller in a way.
It's very sexual.
It is insanely sexual movie. It's weird.
All right, so this movie is directed by Clive Barker. Clive Barker's well known. I've heard the name a lot, but I haven't seen a lot of his movies. He's got a movie called The Lord of Illusions, The Midnight Meat Train. I've seen The Lord of Illusions, but that's just a couple of them. He did a lot of movies mostly like pre-2000 and hasn't done a whole lot since. All of his stuff after that seems like it's straight to video stuff. And this is based on a book called The Hellbound Heart, which I read.
You did?
Yeah, actually the audiobook. So it's a short, like 180 pages, so it took like 3 hours, but I listened to it at work. More or less the exact same story. The exact page for page. I almost didn't watch the movie because I was like, this sounds just like the damn movie. But so I've seen this movie, bro, because it played on TV, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, when you watch this on like AMC or some shit, they're gonna cut out, some stuff.
A lot of stuff to cut out on cable, yeah.
So this was I've seen this a handful of times, but not recently, but I have seen it. But watching it like on, the streaming site where they keep all the extra goody stuff in was a whole nother fucking movie, bro.
So when did you watch this first movie?
Probably, I don't know, bro. Like, it had to be within like 5 years ago. Like, I It was recent, but not like crazy recent.
Okay. Because, like I said, this was the first time I saw it, and so I was gonna watch it on Tubi, is the streaming site that has commercials and stuff, and I just like started it up. I was like, no, I can't do commercials with this. Like, I'm just gonna have to watch it all the way through. I know this is a classic. I'm really excited to get into this one, and I could imagine watching the AMC version, like the TV
Oh,
version.
all the stuff they couldn't put in there.
All this, it's such a like an uncomfortably sexual movie in like a demented way. It's
The graphicness, bro.
it's very graphic. It's very like much like a lot of shock like imagery in it. Just
Mhm.
like random decay, maggots, rats everywhere, just to kind of get you uneasy. And then on top of that, you are very uneasy about the sexual relationships in this movie, and just it's a lot.
So on that, I'm gonna go ahead and summarize what the movie basically is about. So there's this dude, and he's trying to like seek the ultimate pleasure. He's a super perv,
Frank's a perv. Frank.
incredible perv, the nastiest, bro. Like the guy who like sits in the back of the McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? One hand's always under the table. You never know what he's doing.
Come to daddy.
Exactly. And he goes and he finds a puzzle box and, the most stereotypical of Asian scenarios.
Oh man, the voice was like the Asian voice that they use. It needs to be dubbed over how stereotypical it was. It wasn't even stereotypical. It was just racist. Let's put it that way.
So you are seeking pleasures.
It was terrible. I was like, oh my god. I was like,
man, it's not aged well.
there's some movies that like immediately date themselves, and that was like the first line of the movie. I was like, well, okay, this is movies from the 70s or 80s. Like it's old.
Yeah. So this dude, he gets like this puzzle box from this Asian guy. He opens it up, and bad stuff happens to him. He gets sucked into a hellscape, correct?
Yeah, immediately bad things.
And apparently he does it in the house that his brother is gonna move into.
It seemed to be so Frank and Larry are brothers. It seemed to be their family home, and that had been left decrepit for a few years. And Frank, the guy who's seeking the pleasures, wants to come home and take over the house. And he was staying there for a while, and then this happens to him.
Yeah. And so it turns out that him and his brother's wife have some kind of relationship, and she has to do some awful things to help him out. Frank, the man who was sucked into the hellscape. I'm trying to be vague still.
Okay.
And that's more or less what it's about.
Yeah, more or less. The plot of the movie is Frank trying to escape the hellscape,
With the help of his brother's woman.
who he had a sexual past with. A very questionable sexual past. Let's just questionable at best.
Yes. So this was originally a British film. That's why the fucking wife has a British accent.
I noticed immediately when we were watching the movie that a lot of the characters looked like they were dubbed.
Yeah,
And
especially Frank, bro. Frank had the most like obvious one to me.
And they were dubbed, but I guess that when they started making the movie that they didn't want it to seem like a British movie, so they dubbed over some of the actors and then changed the setting to New York. That's why a lot of the city they show doesn't look like New York at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like not even a little bit. Look like New
There's
York.
no like not one skyline shot.
You don't see one size skyscraper at all. People are saying "Jolly Good Morning" to you. And he's like, "What? This isn't New York."
And then one of the guys that the wife, like her name's Julia brings, also has a British accent. And it's like, what are the chances that two foreigners run into each other at a bar, like in the middle of the U.S.?
It's a lot of British people there for it not to be said in England.
Exactly. And it's never addressed why she has a British accent.
Oh, and also, so I was looking up like different quick facts from the movie, and then the first scene when the Frank gets the cube from the strange Asian man,
Mm-hmm.
it's supposed to be Cambodia,
Ah.
which is also makes it really weird why this Asian guy with a very stereotypical accent is there.
Why he speaks English perfectly.
That's such a weird. He's like, it was always your box. I would question that.
Just a wee bit.
Like, was it always mine? I'm buying it from you now.
Frank was into some shady stuff, man. So he was probably like, You're right.
You're right. You're right. I kept on saying, so me and my girlfriend watched this on Thursday, and I kept on telling her, like, just randomly, I'd be like, come to daddy.
Come to daddy.
It made her uncomfortable, to say the least.
It's definitely that's a move. I don't know how to describe that. When I read the book, there's a line in the book, and it's like, there's only a handful of men that can truly pull off the come to daddy, and Frank isn't one of them.
It acknowledged how creepy it was.
It does. It does.
I feel like I could probably, like, in the world, you could probably count on your hand how many men can pull off the come to daddy.
Yeah.
There can't be more than 10 dudes, like, out of the billions of us out here that can say that.
Bro, I don't even know if there's that many.
Come to daddy is such a bold statement.
Yeah, like, and say it not sarcastically, right?
Especially if it's like someone who's like not your like partner already, you know, like someone who you're not already with, and just be like roll up on the girl at a club and be like, hey, come to daddy. No, never.
I
Don't
think
do it.
It has to be somebody like country
Okay.
and older.
I feel like if you say it, you also have to be like extremely attractive.
Or charismatic.
Both, probably.
Yes.
You can't just be like
eccentric. Because you can't be like a guy in a fucking like business suit. Like,
yeah,
I
then it seems
picture
like
it.
he's trying to buy you.
Bro, I picture like Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, he can say it.
Come to daddy.
He's like, come to daddy. That's like kind of halfway
Come
mumbled
to
it too.
daddy.
He can pull it off. He can come in like,
See what I'm saying? The country accent helps it a little bit.
you see him at like a saloon, people are like line dancing and stuff. He walks up to the girl at the bar and like gets her a drink. Throws a little, come to daddy. That could work. But he has to look exactly like Matthew McConaughey. Maybe even he's even like 2 years too old now. Maybe like 3 years ago, Matthew McConaughey.
And for it to like be received well, yes.
That's a weird tangent, but I think we really did just like discover something there. Like,
It's true.
made a good rule. Never say come to daddy.
Like if I had an audience right now, I'd be like, all right, we're going to hold like auditions. Send me a video of you saying it and I'll tell you whether or not it works.
It's gonna be it's gonna be real easy work on this side. No.
It's just going to be a bunch of like black screens with like it coming out of the darkness, bro. That'd be so scary.
Just come to daddy. Come to daddy. Come to daddy. I said that way too many times already, dude.
I know it's enough sound bites to last a while.
Hopefully I don't ever get deep faked.
Oh, that would suck ass.
This is me doing some creepy shit.
Are you the one who was saying you have a fear of getting like deep faked?
I have a fear of deep fakes in general. I think it's gonna be. It's just a scary thing to have out in society.
Yeah, it's kind of been a joke forever.
Yeah, now they're good.
Bro, there's remember that old movie Revenge of the Nerds?
Yeah.
There's like in the fourth one or some shit, there's deep faking that, and that's from like 80 something.
Really?
They're
Does it
doing
look
like
bad?
I can't remember. I just remember they use it. It's one of the tropes they use in the movie. Like at some point they like do some type of splice on a old VHS tape that they're framing some guy, and he's like, "That's not me," and it really wasn't. It was like a deep fake.
Oh, really?
So that concept's been around since that.
It's crazy. Deep faking, not good.
Not at all. But you think of anything else we could talk about before we spoil the shit out of this?
No, let's jump right in.
Yeah. Okay, so first impressions, man. How'd you like it?
I really like this movie. This movie, like I said, it was nothing at all what I expected to be going in. But I like sometimes you get like a suggestion for a movie, and sometimes like you hear so much about it, it's overhyped to you.
Yeah.
This wasn't that. This was more of like you hear like the movie and you like know the like you hear like it so much and hear it held in such a high regard. You kind of like look at it as like, oh man, this one has like, it's like a pedigree that it already has in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when someone tells you like with basketball, like, hey, this player's really good. Watch this dude when you watch like the Hornets or something play, like watch LaMelo. And I'm like immediately like, okay, this dude's about to impress me. Like, it's not like a weird hype. It's just like me like being excited to like kind of come to terms with what everybody already knows and that this movie's good. So I really, really enjoyed it. And I was like really in a good state of mind going in, just like expecting to have like a quality horror movie that is a classic.
Yeah. Because so you're saying like you had like kind of the bar already raised for this going in and it met it to you.
Oh, I don't think like it wasn't one of those where like I felt like, oh man, like I'm super hyped to watch this movie, because I think a lot of new movies are like that,
Yeah.
where like people like kind of hype, and then it doesn't meet it. This one was one of those where I went into it almost with like respect for it before I saw it, because I knew that it meant so much to so many people that I knew that it was going to have some type of something for me.
Yeah. I I personally didn't expect it to be as graphic as it was. Because, like
Really?
I said, the amount of times I've seen it, I've always heard people talk about how this movie's brutal. But like I said, since I've never seen the uncensored version, watching it for the first time it was a chore. Not a chore. I liked it. That's the best way to describe it.
Uh-huh.
Because I like shock scenes if they're done. I feel if they serve a purpose, right? And the purpose of the gore and the graphic stuff was kind of to show the brutality of the Cenobites. And so, like, the first scenes we see in the movie, like after Frank opens the box and he's in front of the candles and stuff,
Uh-huh.
the part where the Cenobites are like walking, I think it's just Cenobites. The Cenobites are walking through the attic, and there's just like pieces of flesh all over the fucking wall, the floors. There's that pillar with like flesh nailed to it. And they're like putting Frank's face together in the pieces on the
Mm-hmm.
floor. And I remember I just watched it, bro. Like, wow. I love it.
It was one of those scenes where like when you're sitting there watching it, like you don't want to move the like location of where your hands are. You don't want to like you kind of just like are stuck, because you're like mentally in your mind you don't want to like reach out your arms or something and accidentally touch what you're seeing on the screen, and like in like a
Yeah.
real meta like physical way that this movie really affected me a lot like that. Like when they're in that attic multiple times, there was just like rats or something gross, or was a rats nailed to the wall, just stuff like that just made you like, it made the hairs kind of stand up on your like arm and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Me personally, how do I feel about it? Yeah, I really liked it also. Because where I fuck up a lot with these movies, right, is because my dad watched so much stuff when I was growing up.
Uh-huh.
I saw the sequels 9 times out of 10 of all these fucking movies. So I think the first one of these I saw, bro, was Hellraiser 4. It's called Hellraiser Inferno.
Uh-huh.
Nothing like this movie at all. It's literally, now that's a book definition of a crime drama with like the supernatural thrown in the background of it. And Pinhead's in that movie in like the last 5 minutes or some shit. But that's like my introduction. So I always kind of like in my head, I'm just like, I mesh them all together.
I like about these older movies, it's not like, you know, in like the black and white era, but still, the older movies are so much more grounded. Even if they have this crazy supernatural element, they are more likely to focus on like this movie does, like focuses like this movie, if it didn't have the supernatural element, and it could have been like a, you know, like a Lifetime movie, like of like a weird like relationship where someone's brother is trying to get with his current spouse and is in the picture, and then there's also a weird rift between a stepmom and a daughter who's not them, so it's like very much like has like the normal familial elements in the movie, but also layers that on top of the supernatural grotesque horror movie. So it's just, I just really love movies that give you a little bit of everything and are that don't take away from the horror at all. I feel like right now a lot more modern movies just want to throw constant horror and shock and not really have build that kind of familiar elements that made me love this movie.
Well, yeah, like you just said, bro, how it's so grounded. Like this could have easily been a Lifetime movie, and the Cenobites could have been replaced with like drug dealers.
Or even like had like Frank like come back and like angels like were bringing him back, so he had a second chance or something like that. You know, it could have been
Yeah,
any
yeah.
that kind of that.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because that's what the Pinhead says. That's some of the lines he has when the girl's like the daughter, Christy,
Kirsty, yeah.
Kirsty. She's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "We are demons to some, angels to others."
Yeah.
Fire, bro.
He had some good lines in there.
He's had some classics like "We have such sights to show you" or some shit like that, ain't it?
Yes. What's that side show? What does he say that they are? He said they're like masters of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Also another great. He has a lot of great quotes in there where I think a lot of other like horror movies could have made him like overly scary, but in the none of the notes I was reading on the making of the movie, the director really wanted to make him seem like priest like he was the head of a cult in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it really came across where he was like revered what he did. Pinhead, I'm talking about. He
Yeah.
revered the way he like had to go about taking people in and stuff like that.
He definitely treated it like a 9 to 5.
Yeah, it was a job for him.
It was definitely like he was wearing a tie under all the leather, BDSM shit.
He clocked in.
So, how did you think? What was your favorite Cenobite?
My favorite Cenobite was the dude who just had like a straight up like leather like blouse on and like had like his like rolls hanging out and then had the sunglasses on.
The chunky dude?
Chunky dude.
Bro, we watched this morning, and the whole time the first time you see him, it's uncomfortable as fuck, like you said, because all he's doing is licking his lips every time the camera goes on his face, and you could hear it just, and it's just fucking cringy as shit because all this horrible stuff is happening, and you just see this big overweight dude with fucking shades on. Like he looks like a swollen Morpheus.
He's just like watching and enjoying it.
Just licking his fucking lips, yo, like hardcore.
I think his second favorite for me would probably be the Chatterbox dude.
It's called the Chatterer.
The Chatterer.
Bro, that's what my fridge sounds like.
For real? Like,
Have you heard my fridge? Like
No.
when we're doing these, you never paid attention. That I know where you hear in the fridge, you just hear that.
and then the weirdest part about him was that he just didn't have lips. So it was just all gum.
Yeah, all gums, and he doesn't have a face. It's just all
Disturbing. It had kind of a lot of that where the monsters are kind of human-like, but you could tell there's no humanity in them at all. But maybe at one point they were humans. Also kind of gray area, but
yeah.
creepy.
And also, I mean, you can kind of look at him and tell like maybe their form of torture has some type of correlation between what they were like, because we come to find out, because we just kind of get thrown and like see a flash of these characters, these Cenobites, but as we learn later in the series, they all have histories and there's a backstory for why each of them has whatever deformities they have, and they are kind of like clues when you look at them.
Yeah, they're kind of like dressed in very distinct ways. Like they're not just randomly thrown together.
Yes. And I can't remember exactly what they are, but I mean, that's the whole point of it. That's why they look the way they do. It's their form of punishment. It has something to do with their backstory.
So with this movie is like in this series, is everything like that happens in the sequels like canon to this movie? Do you know how like kind of like, I don't know if you've seen the Matrix series.
Uh-huh.
So like the Matrix, like you can kind of tell it was made to be a standalone movie. There was not really a whole universe in thought about, because really like at the end of it, Neo kind of like wins and just like flies away and like it should be over.
Yeah. But then
like,
they kind of like made up the rest of it.
Yeah. Was this like that?
No, the first two.
Okay.
The first two were like connected. And then after that, it was kind of like, all right, we're just going to do all types of random shit. Pinhead goes to space in one of them.
He goes to space?
Yes, sir.
Like in a spacesuit or just...
No, bro. He's not an astronaut. He's just in space, bro.
I didn't ask,
In
bro.
a spacesuit.
They put Jason in space eventually.
I know. That was the first one I saw at the movies.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember that came out when I was probably like 11 or 12, so it was just a little too much for me.
You weren't even that old, man. 2001.
Oh, shit. I was not that old.
Nah, bro. I was 9.
He's with your dad. He's just... Whatever. You scared? No, I'm good.
Mm-mm.
He's like, meanwhile, middle of the night, just like, I can't sleep. He's going to come out the closet and kill me.
No, I think I got my first fucking Woody during that one because I saw my first pair of boobs on the big screen. But no, so yeah. Oh, fun fact. So like I said, I listened to the audiobook of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you know in the book they described why Frank was able to come back a little better?
Okay.
So in the book, The scene where he gets taken by the Cenobites, they show that it's a long part. Like when I was listening to it, it was like a 10-minute thing.
Oh, really?
As opposed to in the movie, it's literally a flash and we see some hooks come and then we don't really understand specifically what happened. But in the book, they describe it as when they come to take him, he just asks them flat out. They're like, why'd you summon us? And he's like, pleasure. And in the book, it's revealed that they go, okay, well, here you go. And what they do is they turn up his senses times 1,000,000. So first he feels everything, he hears everything, he sees everything. Like he can see like the hairs on a fly and shit like that.
Uh-huh.
And pretty much it starts to make him kind of go nutty because, you get your senses turned up like that, right? You feel everything. You hear 10% everything.
Of the brain thing we were talking about last week.
Exactly. But now, so what our boy Frank does, right? Because since his sight is turned up, he goes blind like first. That's the first thing that happens.
Uh-huh.
He takes his dick out and he just starts jerking off.
In the book?
In the book.
Oh, I'm glad they cut that.
So he's all like, I can't see. And he's just beating off. And he finishes. And he shoots a load on the floor. And so then all the torture shit happens. But apparently that load he shot on the floor is like his lifeline to the fucking world.
What?
And the blood gets on his fucking jizz when the husband walks in the room holding the blood. And that's the loophole he uses to come back.
I feel like I'm glad they cut that.
Yeah.
They didn't need to be explained. Sometimes these don't explain it and it's better.
I know. I just thought that was a fun little like, did you know?
Did you know that he actually spawned himself with semen? Craziest thing.
Such a random thing, bro. But I love that little like tidbit.
Like is he his own daddy?
Pretty much, bro.
So when he says "come to daddy,"
he's talking about himself.
Whoa.
But now, what'd you think of the effects of the part where he gets brought back to life, bro? That shit was wild.
Dude, that was cool. That seemed like it was like a bitch and a half to put together. That seemed like it looked to me like it was stop motion.
Stop motion and shot in reverse.
Yeah, so they just like kind of like decrepited this like stop motion thing and did a lot of melting too, and then
just reversed it.
Yeah, it looked really good. I loved how it looked.
I thought it was crazy because you see his arms come out first, and how about when his fucking brain comes out and it turns out you're looking at his spine, and the spine like connects to the brain, and it's just a brain on a fucking skeleton.
So I read that they made this scene first, like the first go around, and then they had to reshoot it because the first time they did it, they didn't really have any budget or anything to it. So they filmed it, showed the movie to First Line Cinema, the producers of it, and then they gave them a whole new budget just to refilm that scene because of how bad it was. So this seems like it was awesome.
It was dope, bro. I loved how all the effects and stuff turned out.
And something with the practical effects where it's not just like complete like CGI, like even if it doesn't look necessarily how you think an arm looked, like it looks a lot gnarlier and creepier.
Yeah. The initial like little figure that comes out definitely does look a little off, but I mean like it's kind of one of them things like what do you expect?
I think one of the reasons it is because that like silicone or whatever kind of like weird like shit they're using, it has a different shine to it than like CGI does. CGI like doesn't like shine the way that like that slimy, gross like brain matter, fake matter looks, and it just wouldn't be the same with his CGI.
Well, no, the CGI looks cartoony.
Yeah,
especially back then.
Like especially back then.
Well, actually, we got perfect examples of that at the end when she's like shooting the Cenobites with the fucking puzzle box.
Yeah.
The Last Dragon. You ever seen that movie?
No.
There's this old like movie called The Last Dragon. It's about like African American community and like Bruce Lee and Kung Fu and shit in New York in the 80s.
Oh, for real?
And yeah, and there's the whole fight scene with them. It's like that like lightning effect or whatever they were using.
Yeah.
That's the entire fucking movie at the end. It turns into like Street Fighter where they're doing like Hadoukens at each other and shit. And that's like, it looks just like that. But
shooting waves at each other.
Recommended.
But
yeah, so all right, so we're talking a lot about the effects. What did you think about the actors and the acting and stuff?
Dude, I actually really thought it was like good. So this movie's made on $1 million budget, so you're not going to get stars, obviously. You're not going to get anybody known. But the people that were in it, which was a huge. It's like a super, super, super small cast. So I made a comment immediately to Lydia when we were watching this, and I was like, "Hey, like they only build like 5 people on here." So the only real characters that there are in the movie are Larry, Frank, Julia, who's the wife, and Kirsty, and then her boyfriend's an auxiliary character, and there's like a homeless guy who's like in it for a little bit, but he doesn't really have any words.
Mm-hmm.
So like, those are literally the only people in the movie, except for like a few scenes here and there. But I thought the main cast was very well done. I was telling my girlfriend this also. I was like, it's weird because like I think British movies kind of have this. So you know, have you seen like Love Actually and movies like that?
I've heard of it. I've never
So
seen it.
like, it's kind of a roundabout way of saying like the people in the movie aren't like super like attractive. They just seem like normal everyday people. Where a lot of times with American movies, especially newer American movies, everybody's like very, very attractive, very over sexualized, and these people weren't that at all.
Exactly. And that was my problem.
That was your problem?
Listen, in the book, bro, Julia is described as Pamela Anderson, bro.
For real?
Not really. But that's like, I feel the characteristics she has. She's this like desired thing that everybody wants to bang and touch.
So she's just like a very, very hot person.
Yes.
Like hot girl. Hot
Unnaturally attractive.
I honestly think though it works better and kind of says a little bit more like about like society when it's this Julia who is not like she is a
She's, I
attractive
mean,
woman,
yes,
obviously.
obviously she's attractive, but she's aged a little bit.
Yeah, she's a little older. She's not like she doesn't look like like a model or anything by any means, like by like movie standards. But like I think it works better where she's like this more grounded, conservative dressing lady who kind of is pulled away by Frank and his desire for like pleasure and sexuality, and that like really almost like morphs her into a different person instead of her being this overly sexualized woman in the movie.
Well, in the movie, she's depicted pretty much, well, in the book more so, like Cruella de Vil, bro.
Okay.
She's this very antagonistic figure with everybody. She has very negative thoughts about everyone. So what Frank represents is the polar opposite to her, where he's not intimidated by her. She's actually feels submissive to him, which in her reality is rare.
That could have been fleshed out more in the movie because I kind of got that, but not too much.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they kind of dropped the ball with Julia slightly, I feel.
Because I don't know if we should get let's get into the scene where it's the montage scene where it is at the same time it's early in the movie when the movers are there.
Uh-huh.
And Julia is upstairs looking at pictures that Frank left behind when they think he's gone. And at the same time, Larry's downstairs with the movers trying to get a bed upstairs, which, side note, if you're trying to do this like a struggling furniture move, beds are the easiest fucking thing to move in the world. Like, have you ever had struggle with the bed?
No, usually lift those alone most of the time.
They're not very heavy, anything like that. So that was one of my pet peeves. I'm like, give them like a bookshelf or something.
Bro, did you see them laying on it together? It was barely bigger than a twin-sized bed.
It wasn't that big, dude.
No.
It would have been easy to move. So this scene, and at the same time, Kirsty, I think.
Kirsty or Christy, one of the two, bro.
It doesn't matter. Kirsty, let's call her Kirsty. So Kirsty is at the same time in the house and going to get a towel because she washed her hands or something, because she just burst the pipe in the downstairs room. So we get these simultaneous things happen, and Julia is having flashbacks to apparently a few days before she got married. Frank shows up at their house, her and Larry's house, and he asks to come in. He's all wet. He asked for a towel. Simultaneously, in the present day, Kirsty asked for a towel. It shows this uncomfortable kind of maybe possibly rape scene, maybe consensual sex, but it's consensual at the end. It is a very gray area sex scene that happens like in the middle of this. And this whole thing, like, it doesn't really make sense without that backstory that you just provided of her, like, how she feels like she relates to Frank. But in the movie, it just seems like maybe it's just because we're watching it with the 2021 lens, but me and my girlfriend are like, whoa, like what? This scene is uncomfortable and kind of scary at the same time.
Yeah, because In the book, it's flat out said like, oh, they've only banged that one time.
Uh-huh.
Whereas even my girl was saying when we were watching it, like, oh, is this something that they've been doing? Is this like a relationship they've had behind, her husband's back? And that is kind of what it could seem like because of the way she feels, right?
Yeah.
Like she's immediately like obsessed with dude
Hey, sometimes a girl's all in after.
after she gets a taste of that Slim Jim.
And sometimes, like some people are just like relationships are uneven, and some people think they're more in the relationship than other people. And I can imagine this cheating wife might think that she was like, "Hey, this is the guy I'm gonna leave my husband for," and he's just like, "You're just another lady."
A little bit of that dank Frank.
Little Frank, come to daddy.
Come to daddy.
So,
Nah.
it was just a very uncomfortable scene.
Was his voice dubbed? I feel like it was dubbed. I almost feel like it had to have been fucking dubbed.
Well, how did they do his? Was he a person under prosthetic makeup?
I don't know that actually. I would assume it was because I think they'd have to credit like a whole nother act. I don't know. The guy looks smaller because it had to be somebody skinny as shit to wear those prosthetics, right?
Yeah, because they had to been under all of that stuff, or maybe they just made him look small with the camera angles.
Who knows? Because the guy, I don't know. I couldn't say for sure.
Because in all the notes I was looking at of the movie, it was talking about the prosthetics for the Cenobites, but I didn't see anything about the prosthetics for Frank.
No, but I didn't pay attention if they credited somebody else for that. I mean, for sure, the part where he's first brought back and he's like crawling on the floor and it looks like a fucking child crawling.
Yeah,
that's for sure somebody else, bro.
It can't be him. He's too big for that.
Yeah, because when they bring him back, it looks like a little boy crawling, and that was actually terrifying imagery, bro.
It was creepy.
Whenever
what the fuck is that?
When they did the wide shots of like him crawling towards the body and shit, man.
There's some really good like kind of like off like side of the camera like movements that are like awesome. Like one of the ones is in the scene where Larry is watching TV and he hears something upstairs. And in that whole like scene, there's a part where he's walking into the bedroom with Julia, and we don't know where Frank is. And you just see someone like walk across the left corner of the screen, like completely just like you don't even think that Frank's gonna be in the room, but you just see like two legs walk across. He was like, "Oh shit,
yeah,
he's in the room."
There's scenes like that when Julia goes into the attic also, where she'll like walk past somewhere and you can see Frank like standing in a corner behind her, and the movie doesn't make any note of it. It's just something you catch. You just see her walking by.
Yeah, it has a lot of the really good parts like that. Can I ask you a question, Chris? Do you feel bad for Julia?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all, bro. The whole arc.
Me neither. Let's make sure.
Horrible person, bro.
Horrible. Like one of the you like know she's horrible because like one of the first times she like talks to Christy, and Christy like obviously seems like to hate her because like when you're mad, like it's just like not a good situation. Like when like you don't get along with the stepmom probably, and like she goes in there and she asks her like, "Hey, how you been?" or something like that. And she's like ignores her.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
Okay, so this will be a fun game. So let's talk about their arcs individually, because you mentioned that this movie only has like 3 characters. Really.
Yeah.
So Julia, while we're there, so her arc is that she's had this affair with her husband's brother, like right before their wedding.
Yeah, days before.
Then apparently they move into this house. Her husband bleeds on the floor of the attic.
Mm-hmm.
And
summons that brother from the
Hellverse.
It's called that Hellverse, I like it.
And Frank tells her, as he's this like gooey, bloody thing, he's like, "Hey, I need you to bring me more blood." And that's all he really says. He doesn't directly go, "Bring guys up to this attic under the allure of sex so I could eat them."
He does not give that much direction at all.
She just kind of assumes a lot of shit. And to make it worse, bro, in the book, it's even less. In the book, he literally just shows up and like reaches towards her as like an apparition and goes, "Blood." And then he vanishes, bro. And she puts everything together from that. She brings the dude from a bar to the fucking attic.
Yeah, she could have done like a lot of different stuff.
And that's the move.
She could have we watched that movie Let Me In, like just harvested a little bit of blood from somewhere else. brought in.
Brought fucking animals in.
Any kind of blood. Like, people in movies never try animal blood first. They're like, hey, I'm going to kill people.
Yeah, it's a big jump. So she brings the first dude. And also, funny note, I noticed every guy she brought was a white guy with a receding hairline. I thought it was interesting.
It's a good touch. That's who Julia's. That's an easy target for Julia at the bar. Just like some dude just on a business trip. Like, hey, what's up, man? You come home thing. Yes, I will.
Could you tell that in the first one she brought, there was hesitation on her part?
They really try. So I talked about this a lot with Lydia. So at the very first person she brings home, she has hesitations. You can tell she's scared. But also what they do with the first guy that she kills to kind of make it easier is he gets like super aggressive with her.
That's what makes it flip.
Yeah, so it kind of flips it where you don't it kind of lessens the like you don't think of Julia as purely evil because she like decides to kill this person who's like very clearly probably gonna rape her if she doesn't like comply to have sex with him. Mm-hmm. It would now that they're in the house, you're like, okay, like this makes sense. He deserves to die. But yeah, that's just like how they kind of ease you into it. It's awesome. Like I thought it was awesome filmmaking. How they did
that. Because at first the guy's all like, "I'm nervous. You're so beautiful. I feel like you've known you forever," and us as the audience, we're with Julia, kind of like, "Oh, this is gonna be kind of fucked up. This guy seems sweet," and then within like just a flip of the hat, you getting your fucking cold feet on me now, you bitch.
Yeah, it just turns on her immediately,
and then you just see like the look in her eye. Let's go upstairs. And it's kind of like, all right, man, you're kind of an asshole.
Yeah, and it makes the whole, like, you still kind of think Julia is redeemable at that point.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing, like, in action movies where the minions of the villain, they're always wearing masks or they have some type of face coverings on, right? It's so you don't feel bad about our hero fucking killing these guys. They're all faceless. That's the whole point of that.
Yeah.
You're not worried like, oh, dude, this guy's probably got a family and shit. No, he's just this faceless fucking guy.
Like he has no like when Batman's just like beating the hell out of some like homeless dude in like a fucking
just some guy who just got fired from his job and happened to get a job for Two-Face or some shit.
Yeah, he's just trying to make $1 or $2, and Batman just beats him to like a literal pulp.
Just beats the shit out of him, bro.
Just like throws him like off a building, but catches him just so he doesn't kill him.
Pretty much. But no, so that's that whole concept. So she does this. She uses a hammer. In the book, she uses a knife.
Okay.
The hammer, though, bro, that's aggressive.
It's brutal. Then he like breaks his like jaw when he hits the ground too.
Mm-hmm. His teeth are like falling out of his mouth.
Yeah. The hammer would be rough because like think about it, like when someone if someone hits you with a hammer like in the head, like you're gonna be like cognizant of the rest of the blows coming to you. Like it doesn't just end when you get hit with the hammer. Like you can't defend yourself after you get the hammer in the head. It's over.
Yeah,
but it's not over yet.
It's definitely not turning out the lights right away.
No, the lights are still on, and you just have to be like, yo, what did I do? What choices did I make that led me to this?
Now, listen, like you just said, though, some of these guys, bro, you meet a woman at a bar, right?
Uh-huh.
She's like, hey, come back to my place. Immediate red flag.
I mean, not a red flag.
Not really? A big-ass house.
The house size is what would be like, this is weird.
Let's go to the top floor of the house, to this attic with nothing in it.
Hey, let's walk by all these pictures of you and your family and just like walk by what's obviously a bedroom. Hey, another room that like looks kind of like people live here. Like it's not just a one-person house. So you got to be like thinking like, hey, like you have to be down with like, hey, like she probably married. It's the middle of the day. Like it's going to happen though. So, and you know, some people don't care.
She's dressed like she's going to a funeral every time with shades.
Such a weird like attire that she's wearing.
Bro, the 80s look really threw me off.
I think it was the British 80s look too, which is extra weird.
The poofy hair.
Yeah, a lot of that just like was different.
Maybe that's what didn't do it for. The hair really fucked it up for me.
It made her not attractive because she's like a pretty woman, but like it's like not like they didn't like overdo her. They didn't make her like more attractive than she was.
Yeah. I don't know. Just what I envisioned, bro, was different. But so she does this stuff for Frank, right?
Uh-huh.
And She ends up bringing him all the way back, right?
Pretty much. He's like,
We never see him actually come back in full form because what they end up doing, don't they? They feed Larry to him, right? But we don't see that.
we don't see it actually happen, which also was kind of like a weird continuity thing for me, where I was like, everything else regenerates, but for skin, you need to steal it from somebody else. And also, how did you do that? That's a good sewing
Yeah,
job, bro.
because why does he have? He has supernatural abilities that they don't discuss really, and we
Yeah.
don't learn the rules for.
And which I think is good. We should just know that he's just like a corpse coming back. That's like makes the most sense, and like you don't really have to know too much about it until he takes the skin, and then it kind of makes it all kind of like.
Yeah, when he took somebody else's face, when he would dig his fingers into people, and he was like absorbing motherfuckers.
Yeah, it made sense, like for him just to absorb the blood, give him more life. But I thought that would give him some skin. It gave him organs, not skin though. Skin is an organ. Come on, writers, directors.
And so Julia's whole thing, doesn't it end with she gets betrayed by Frank, right?
Yeah, hence the question: do you feel bad for Julia?
Not at all.
So Julia, after finally, Kirsty finally comes to the house on her dad's like, her dad asked her to come to the house and maybe see Julia because Julia and him are having a hard time and just kind of to talk so she can have a friend because obviously Julia has no friends because she's a terrible person.
Mm-hmm.
So she comes to the house and she catches her, in the middle of luring somebody up to the attic. But at the time, Kirsty doesn't know that there's a fucking zombie upstairs, which, is reasonable not to assume that.
Yeah.
And so she comes in the house and no, that's later that happens.
No,
It's
that
not when she's
happened.
betrayed, but this happens. And so she runs away, passes out, ends up in a hospital, which is a whole another scene. This is kind of
This
kind
is
of need to
This is
flesh out a
Kirsty's
little
arc,
bit.
bro.
Yeah.
Kirsty will have her own arc here in a second.
Okay. But so let's catch Kirsty up and Larry up.
So Kirsty, right? Kirsty, it doesn't really. She takes a while to become like the central figure in this movie because it follows Julia for about the first hour, right?
Yeah, very heavily follows Julia, and we're in her thoughts.
Or hell, more like the first hour and 20 minutes. Because really, Kirsty doesn't get like a significant part until like the last 20 minutes, I feel. I mean, we're kind of lightly touching on her throughout.
Yeah, we're kind of visiting, checking up on her, but she doesn't really become the main character until the last. It's a really short movie. It's only an hour and a half, so we get the last like 40 minutes of mostly Kirsty.
Barely. Because remember, like you said, once she discovers that Julia's bringing these women to the house, because Larry asked her to go talk to her, so because she's been acting funky.
Yeah, I guess so, because that dinner scene's kind of when she kind of takes over.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so Kirsty, discovers a dude walking into the house with Julia, and she immediately goes fucking Rambo. She's gonna confront it. She wants all the fuck is it? She wants all the
smoke?
All the smoke, yes.
All the smoke,
All
dude.
the smoke, sir.
That was a bold move. I feel like that's enough evidence, but hey, Dad, some dude was coming in the house during the day. Looks sexual.
Like, you don't gotta, like, what is going on here?
You don't got a camera. Like she didn't have a camera or anything. She was just there.
She was just gonna bust in, bro, and, like, just catch this dude just piping fucking Julie.
She wanted to see it. I don't know why she wanted, like, that was a weird choice for her.
Like, that was a very aggressive move.
So she goes upstairs and literally catches.
No, she just walks up to a corpse. Because remember, the attic door opens and the body falls out.
I thought that she saw him, like, sucking the blood out.
No, the corpse tips over and falls, and she just stands there and screams, and then Frank comes out behind, like, all bloody and shit, and he tries to, like, grab her, and then they end up in the attic together. Oh, yeah, and then she, like, kicks him in his nuts, like, repeatedly.
She puts him, like, she literally hits him, like, in the rib, but, like, through the rib cage, and, like, punches him, like, in the heart, for real. Just, like, it's a brutal little shot.
She punches through his, like, actual fucking torso.
It looked like that hurt. Like, I was like, oh, I know he's a zombie, but that would hurt me. And then she, like, grabs the box, because this whole time the box has been upstairs.
Yes.
And she realizes that Frank is very much like, hey, that's my box. Like, he's very concerned of the box. It's like me whenever I bring my sunglasses anywhere and put them down. I'm like, hey, like, I need to bring these home. These are my favorite things ever.
Exactly.
He loves a box. So she notices that, And she does like a fucking like G ass move right here. Like she like instead of being like I'm just gonna run away with it, she just like kapoots it out the window, just like
That was savage as hell, bro.
she just sidearms it. She gives it a little Phil Rivers, like not even like a full like throw. It was like a little
She
just
practically like dropped it, bro, and just kicked it.
yeah. I was just like,
Fuck
damn,
your
there
box,
you go.
bro.
And he got pissed, but she got away really quickly. It was very smart. Got into the street, got away, got near the public. Very savvy horror movie.
Yeah, because even when she passes out in public and she gets sent to a hospital, and at the hospital she has the smarts to know not to mention what she's seen.
Yeah,
because she knows that if she's in the hospital and she starts spouting out crazy shit, they're not gonna let her go.
Especially in the 80s. In the 80s, they're like, okay, well, we're gonna just put this needle in your brain and see if it fixes you.
Especially women. They're like, oh, these crazy women. We're just gonna lithium to fucking death.
For real. Bad time to be mentally ill. So she kept it to herself.
Exactly, which was the player move. And so she gets locked in the hospital though. And she's bored and she has the puzzle box because they bring her the box. They're like, you had this death grip on it. We're trying to wonder if you knew what it was. So they just happen to set it down right next to her. So while she's locked in this room, she's like, you know what? I'm bored as hell. Let me see what the hell's going on with this little box.
And I think like she's also trying to get out so she can kind of warn her dad that there's a zombie in the attic.
Yeah.
Worth telling somebody.
It's, worth note.
It's noteworthy.
So she opens the box and, I told Denise that the vibes I got from this movie was, I don't know if you felt it too, Beetlejuice, Tim Burton.
Yeah, very much like
maybe it's that 80s thing. Like whenever something would happen with the other world or something, the floorboards start moving, walls open up and shit. The fog, the blue lights.
The fog for sure. The fog is like always there, like, and it just like signifies creepy's about to happen.
Very reminiscent of that. And that's kind of what happens in the hospital room also. The wall opens up.
I feel like you kind of need that with the summoning scene, though. You can't conjure up a new like universe without like something shaking,
Back then. I feel like nowadays it's very subtle.
I don't know. I feel like something always, but now we can like just show like a whole, but like if they just open like the wall up and like didn't have like cool effects, it'd just be like, oh, why'd the wall open?
That's true.
They need you need all that kind of like extra little jazz. And the score I really liked the score to this.
The score was very big. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it was like definitely like a full house orchestra band. Like it was
very grand and it made it very apparent that this was like a big deal.
Kind of a side note, there was supposed to be like this like industrial band, like that was supposed to do the score.
Oh, that would have fucked everything up, bro.
I think it would have fucked it up too, because I like that the score was like kind of classical. But it was this band called Coil from the like 80s.
I wish I could hear that.
I was listening to some of it, just like, and it was just changed the whole tone. It was a little too like, it was not good.
What was it? Just like grunge Nirvana or some shit?
Not
Punk
quite.
rock?
It was more like horroristic, but like also like kind of a little darker, grungy. It was weird, dude. It was industrial rock. It was like,
I'm gonna listen to it.
you should. It's cool. It's strange.
That would have definitely, because like I said, the fucking like orchestra like feel made it feel grand and really big, and it fit the Cenobites theme. Like you said, even Pinhead was kind of like this almost religious like figure.
Yeah.
So that just fit the narrative perfectly.
I feel like having like a rock band record on it would have been like
that would have made it stupid cheesy, bro.
I think so. It would have made like Pinhead seem like a lot more like a clown than this did.
Yeah. That's a cool fun fact, though. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, I was reading through all those. I figured it'd be like some helpful to read the movie trivia. But what were we talking about? We were talking about the summoning in the
hospital.
Yeah.
And so Christy opens the door, and it looks like Tales from the Crypt, bro. Some awful, like, doorway, right? And what does she do, man? She walks in the fucking door and decides to explore.
Did you have a problem with her walking through the door? Like you...
Yeah. Why would you walk through the door?
Okay. I kind of... So usually I'm that person who's like, why in the hell are you getting closer to the evil stuff? But in this instance, and like a supernatural thing where you're playing with the box and this thing opens into alternate dimension, I feel like I'm like, I guess I'm the chosen one. I got to do this.
Listen, man, you can be the chosen one. I'm gonna be the one who waits outside the door one. I'm not walking through the fucking doorway, bro.
I'm not trying to fight a serial killer. I'm not trying to like get myself involved with the ghost. But if they open a portal and you don't like walk through it, I'd always be like, my whole life, be like, man, what was in that portal?
Listen, a portal right now could open right here at this wall that I'm pointing at, and there could just be like a staircase that leads down to a goddamn oasis with 30 extremely hot naked chicks doing limbo. I would keep my ass in this seat.
It don't even need to be that for me to go in the portal. I'm gonna go in the portal. It'd be a lot
Bro,
less.
I highly doubt it's gonna be a portal to Hogwarts, dog. It's
like
gonna be a portal to somewhere terrible.
It could be a six-piece chicken nuggets on the other side. I'm going in. It's worth it to me.
I read too much Lovecraft to fucking do that.
Lovecraft.
That's all Lovecraft talks about is like alternate dimensions and doorways to like horrible places.
That's insane. Lovecraft. Have you seen Lovecraft Country?
No, everybody keeps telling me it's fire.
Yeah, they just talk shit on like the actual, the historical figure of Lovecraft.
What about?
He was like incredibly racist.
Oh, I could imagine. Well, to be fair, bro, everybody was probably racist.
No, I think it was like some people were just like lived in the times when were racist, and some people like pushed the agenda of like the master race, and I think he was the latter.
Well, I'm pretty sure fucking George Washington probably did the same thing, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, for sure.
Like I said, I think all like the public figures, bro. Nah, but so Christy walks through the portal like Nick would have, and she sees. Now they don't give names to these creatures, but in the book and in the Wikipedias and all that stuff, they do. The creature's called the Engineer.
That's what it's called?
The Engineer.
Okay. Weird.
And what the Engineer is supposed to do is it's kind of like it's the one who creates Cenobites and stuff.
So he like spawns them.
Yeah, like it kind of figures out what your specific torture is gonna be, which is why like the woman Cenobite had like the neck thing missing and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's almost like their illustrator, their guy who comes up with concept designs, because he had like little hands and shit. Remember?
He didn't seem too intelligent. Also, it was probably one of the worst like effects sequences of the movie.
Did you see the dolly like pushing it?
Yeah, you can see the wheels of the dolly, and you can see the dudes.
You can see the guy behind it pushing it.
Yeah. Very cheaply done.
It was creepy imagery though.
Yeah, it was cool.
Because it's like hangs from the ceiling. Its tail is where the top of it should be. It's like this 7-foot thing probably, right? It's pretty big.
Very, very. He didn't really utilize the giant like stinger he had.
We'll talk about that. There's a really dumb part at the end that I loved that I thought was hilarious. But anyways, so Christy walks like a football field into this portal, and she gets chased a football field back to that fucking doorway.
Yeah, long run.
Very long run. We got a lot of shots of like the guys pushing the fucking Engineer.
I feel like they should have just cut down a few of the shots of like them, because you could see the dude just like clearly like some guy just dressed in all black, just like.
If they had the effects to like, you know, CG out the fucking guys, it was a cool shot, bro. Like the wide angle of the thing moving was terrifying.
And it was just kind of like back and forth leaning, like so like you can see
like when it's like legs actually on the wall, and it's like this upside down slug thing, like with the hands, like it was cool.
It was creepy. It was different.
So after that, what the hell does she do after that? Oh, because that's when she plays with the box again, right?
Yes.
And that's when the actual Cenobites come out.
Uh-huh.
And that's where Pinhead shouts out all of his fucking dope-ass one-liners.
Just gets like 3 or 4 off in like a couple minutes. It's just, he really
bangers, bro.
For Pinhead. He's out there just spitting hot fire like Dylon.
Pretty much, dude. He's fucking, you know, that's where she's like, what are you guys? And he's like, angels to some, demons to others.
And then like the what's it called of experience? The Masters of Experience.
The Masters of Experience.
I was like, oh, okay. That's a cool band name too.
He's like, oh, the sights we will show you. Damn, bro.
And this is where Kirsty like decides to tell them about Frank and how Frank, because I think she overheard Frank mention briefly that Frank had escaped the Cenobites. I don't know how she knew that.
I don't even think so.
You don't think so? You think it was just a...
I think she just knows that Frank had the box.
Yeah.
So from that connection, she goes, "Hey, you guys know Frank?
You guys know Frank?
You guys know Frank? Because I know Frank."
Frank's the only zombie I know.
Pretty much. And that connection just happens to be like the Cenobites. Pretty much she offers a trade with them. She's like, if I can give you him, then can we? Whatever.
Do you ever like, random, but do you ever like meet like white people and they're like, hey, like, oh, my name's Chris, like, you're obviously Latino. And like, hey, I know Mexican people. You know this Mexican person? And you're just
yeah.
like, oh, no, I don't. But sometimes it's like, oh yeah, that's my cousin.
Or like, what you would call it? You work at a McDonald's and they're like, hey, I got a cousin that works at a McDonald's, 300 miles away. Do you know him?
You're just like, no, I don't.
No, I don't. It's a big company.
There's a lot of us here, bud.
Yeah, that's more or less how it feels, right?
But when you do know them, you're just like, fuck, I do. Yes, it's my cousin. You're like, damn it. Like, I'm over here living up to stereotypes. Shit. Oh, sorry, side note, but the Cenobites.
Cenobites. So she works out with them a deal to give up Frank, pretty much.
Snitch, but also a good call. Frank's a zombie.
Very good call.
Don't snitch does not apply to zombies.
So she goes back to the house, and she gets there, and we see Larry and Julia together. Correct?
Yes.
Now, we know that it's not actually Larry.
Yes, we do.
It's Frank, who has taken the face of Larry.
Should we catch up Larry's arc now?
Poor bastard.
Larry really has a boring ass arc. Larry's just pretty much...
Listen. I made this connection, right? Have you seen those like Facebook videos where it's like, should have gone with the nice guy? Those like incel videos?
The incels, yeah.
Larry's pretty much an incel, bro.
Larry really is. Larry's weak, dude.
Like, listen, Julia, you could have had this guy. He had a 9-to-5. He was a good man. Instead, you had to choose the bad boy.
It's just like, okay, you uninteresting little dude who's on his fucking computer all day. Like, nah, like.
Yeah, but that's what I felt like the message could have been. Like, they would have been like, see what happens, Julia, because you didn't go with the nice guy.
This is the incel movies that you're saying?
Yeah, bro. Larry is pretty much the nice guy.
But Larry has some personality to him. He's over here having parties. People seem to like him. He seems like a decent dude. He's not an incel.
I know, but that's just what I felt like.
Vibes.
Is incel vibes.
You can use it. You can, as an incel, use this to your advantage.
Well, actually, no. It's the incels when they make their videos when they characterize the women with all these horrible characteristics. Is what Julia has. Like, what are the redeemable qualities of Julia?
That's
yeah.
That's a big question. Not many. I guess. I don't know. No, there's none.
So back to Larry.
Okay. Larry's fucking arc is boring. He really is just married to a horrible woman. Clearly, she runs things. Starts real early in the movie. He's literally moving stuff, and they're like, "Hey, we're moving your furniture for you. Do you got some beer?" And Julia's like, "Yeah, it's in the fridge." And Larry response is, "Well, I guess I'll get it then."
And aren't the dudes like trying to holler at his woman?
They're just like staring at her ass, and they're also like talking about his daughter too. And he's just
talking about his daughter.
Takes it.
And then also when he cuts his hand, it's a bitch move.
He's, oh, my hand! I'm scared of blood. I can't.
I'm gonna faint.
And also like the scene where with the beer part, it's like the voice of like a defeated man, where he's like if you like hear someone say like things like in this tone and like in this use phrase like, well, I guess I'll just. That means you lost already. That's just pouting about losing and just knowing that you have to do some shit because someone told you to do it.
Pretty much, just bitching out.
Yeah, it is. It means you like gave up.
And so I guess is that their way of trying to justify what Julia does?
I don't think so. I think it's just trying to show that she's just like immediately like evil.
Or this is why. I kind of get it because they're like, all right, this is why she needed attention from somewhere else because she felt like she just didn't respect Larry pretty much.
You know what we needed? What scene we needed? We needed the scene of like their like lackluster like love life. Like
Or he like fails to perform or some shit.
Or he's just like literally like 3 plump Larry, then it's over.
Yeah.
And then it's just she's just like clearly not satisfied. We needed that.
Yeah, because that's a big thing in the book is she really liked, because that's something that's part of Frank's arc. Like we were mentioning that he's the super perv. Because that's what the Polaroids represent, right?
Yeah.
And his little like he had some porcelain like sex figure.
He had some like old school homemade porn.
Yeah.
Old school.
Very old school.
It's old school. He took a picture of himself boning some random girl.
Multiple.
And there had to have been someone in there operating the camera because I don't know how they did that back then.
Exactly. Because that's the big point in the book is that he's like explored all these like random different ways of pleasure, which sounds very dark in the book.
It does, but it also makes him seem like when you know that background of him, like it makes him seem more desirable to a woman that's stuck in a relationship with some dweeb.
Yeah. And
he's a dweeb, dude. Larry, like the way he watched boxing was like, yeah, punch him.
Definitely very Carlton Banks, man.
Very much so. Like you just don't believe this dude is gonna man up in man up situations.
Only wears Christmas sweaters when it's not Christmas.
If you like are in like a basketball game and it's like crunch time and like someone has to perform, he ain't gonna perform.
No. And so we're talking about Larry, right?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much fucking it, bro. I mean, until he just like, there's the scene where him and where it's storming, right? And he hears a noise upstairs and it's Frank like banging shit in the attic.
Yeah, Frank's just being obnoxious at that scene. Like he just like doesn't care that like Larry knows he's back.
Yeah. And so Julia kind of like stops him from going upstairs by pretty much just throwing herself at him, right?
Yeah.
And she's doing a very convincing job of it.
Very
she like starts making out with him and stuff, and they go to the bedroom, and they're just making out on the bed, and he's on top of her, so she's kind of got this view of the room while he's like just kissing all over her and shit, right?
Uh-huh.
And she sees Frank step out of the closet, and he's still like covered in blood in this point, like still a corpse, and he's got a knife, and he pulls out a rat, and he cuts the dead rat in half.
I thought that part was like one of the few like excessive parts of like, why did you do that?
And listen, so I know you're attracted to Frank. I know he's a walking corpse. I know he's asking you to kill people for him. I know he's really good at banging. But come the fuck on, bro. He's cutting a rat in half right in front of you while your husband's making out with you. There's something wrong with this fucking dude. And what are you doing?
As if all the other things didn't turn you off already.
Like, okay, he's asking you to murder people, but this, you guys are both selfish assholes. That makes sense. The man's cutting a rat in half in front of you.
Like, pretty much on your bed. Like, that shit, that rat blood don't come off easy.
Exactly. Like, am I wrong in, like, this thing I'm thinking of?
I feel like, at that point, like, what is a rat to, like, all the other atrocities that you've committed with this man? And, like, all, like, this... Like, if you're gonna like him as a corpse, like, the rat's not gonna put you over the top. If that's the first thing he leads with, that's, like, an automatic red flag. But, like, this is, like... Like, it's already... You're too far in to really have any complaints about what he's doing. Also, this scene makes me question Larry.
His, like, awareness, dude? Bro?
Not level awareness. His, like... She was, like... Because she was, like... So, Julia's, like, on, like, getting kissed up on by Larry.
And she starts saying no.
And she sees Frank, and she's, like... Literally hysterically... No. God, no. No, stop it. Don't do it. For a good minute. And Larry doesn't know that Frank's in the room, so...
Yeah.
Questioning Larry's morals now. Literally, like if, like, my guy, like... Even one, like, oh, God, no. I'm like, what the fuck's wrong? Like, I'm sorry. Like, what's up? Like, what's going on? Like, he was just like, nope, we're plowing through this. Like, I'm not listening to these obvious signs that something's wrong.
Listen, man. When you've been married for a long time, no, I'm fucking with you. I'm fucking with you guys.
Oh man!
All right, we say no. They say no. You stop.
No, especially like it was a lot. I was just like, what the hell, Larry? I thought you were a good guy. This damn incels, dude.
I like the end of it though, where he's like, I feel like the acting was very sus when he was like, I don't What does he say? He's like, first you come on to me. Now you don't want me to touch you.
See, that's another one of those voices like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I can't touch you now? It's just like taking like the hyperbole of just like a defeated man.
He has some line. I can't remember what he says. I just don't know who you are. Or something like that. Something real cheesy that I can't think of what the fuck he said. But so that interaction happened.
Do you think he's the worst of all the actors in the movie?
Worst cast, possibly.
Larry, yeah.
Because, like, I think he should have been more... Because if you're like, all right, so this is kind of fucked up. So the guy who played Frank, relatively attractive man, correct?
Yeah.
Pretty, actually above average, which is, you know, fits that part.
Yeah.
Larry, he's not some busted fucking dude, but he's definitely just kind of like your generic older white guy.
Khakis.
Yes, khakis. Very much like upper management, you know?
Middle management.
You
don't have the command of room upper management needs.
I feel like they should have made him a little bit younger, maybe kind of slightly more resembling Frank slightly, just so that their like personalities would have contrasted more, as opposed to like, well, clearly this is why she fucked with Frank over Larry, because I mean he's the more attractive dude.
I mean, yeah, it was obvious. Like if you had the choice of brothers, it's Frank.
Right.
He's explored the deep realms of pleasure. Like you don't just pass that up.
Yeah, but then again, like I said, I just feel like everybody was slightly aged a little bit in this movie. But I think back in the day, they just did that in general.
Yeah, they just didn't like. I feel like now they'll just be like, this lady's supposed to be 35, and it's just like clearly like a 22-year-old, like
Yeah.
she's like very a beautiful girl. Like she has these 3 kids. Like those aren't her kids. There's no way. You know, like it's just like it is real. I like the realism of the casting still.
Yeah, it was very true. Except that's the thing with like 20-something-year-olds in these movies, Kirsty.
Mm-hmm.
So she acted like an 18-year-old, but she looked like she was in her mid-20s.
I think she was supposed to be like 19.
She looked a little bit older than that to me.
I think she's supposed to be really young because just how like ditzy and stuff she is, and when she's drinks, she's like she got really really drunk, and like it's just like obvious like she like doesn't seem like she's like used to being like a drunk person, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they do that a lot with her. So, anyways, I'm Frank. I'm on Larry's arc. It's pretty much all we need to know. We're just like telling you all the really important deets. That pretty much he's a bitch and everything around his life isn't really great because he's over here getting manipulated by Julia, and his arc really doesn't have any more development until he comes back home. In between the time that Kirsty first comes to the house and finds out that Frank's a zombie upstairs, and when we see him the next time when he gets home and Julia welcomes him in to the house. What does she say to him then in that little exchange? I know she like asked him to come inside or something like that. Very pointed choice of words.
I barely even remember that scene, bro.
Yeah, she comes in and it's before he's killed by Frank upstairs, but I think she's like, I need to show you something in the attic or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, okay. And then we don't see him, Larry, again as himself for the rest of the movie.
So when he does get taken over by Frank, was he wearing his face or did he just take his whole body?
I think he took his whole skin.
His whole skin, is that what that's implied? Because they do that, but there's like blood around like just the face and the back of the hairline.
Yeah, it looked like a bad like sewing job. So like my question is like, did he like piece on every little bit of skin? Did he like
It looked legit. Like it didn't look like House of a Thousand Corpses, like you're wearing a mask. Like it was legit like body swap. It didn't look at all.
Or did he like, you know how like when you get a Halloween costume and like it's like pretty much a onesie and there's like you just step in through the back?
Yeah.
I'm thinking it was like that situation.
Possibly. But once again, that's the whole thing of like the ambiguity.
Ambiguity.
Fuck you. Of ambiguity. Fuck that word. The ambiguity. Say it again.
The ambiguity.
Ambiguity. Cut this. Cut. The not knowing of Frank's abilities.
Which I do appreciate that movies just like, hey, like I don't need to walk you through this and hold your hand. Like
You
because
just figure it out.
most of the time, like that kind of shit, like it doesn't make sense either way, you know.
Yeah, that is true.
There's always just little holes you could poke in it, so it's easier just to be like, "Hey, we're not going to spell it out for you," and you can kind of guess what it is on your own.
Mm-hmm. So I guess that does work out. Like it wasn't distracting.
No, not at all. It wasn't like, "Oh, what happened?" Like it's clear what happened. In some way, he morphed into his body.
So, what did you think of? So for me personally, bro, the main chick Christy in this movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gorgeous woman.
Yeah, she's very attractive, and she's like kind of plays the like innocence of the movie. Like some movies like have like the like that, especially horror movies, they have like the moral, like the just like kind of a scale of morality for all characters, and every character kind of represents that like piece of like how people's personalities are, and she very much is the innocence and the like childlike figure in the movie that is supposed to like kind of like counter just the like evil like sadistic Frank in a way. And I really just liked how she played that. She played it as like more of like a girlish figure, but still like becoming a woman and just like growing older and like getting like used to adulthood. And so it's kind of for her a coming of age in a way. She's just moving to New York and getting an apartment by herself for the first time. And this is like 80s New York. This is get stabbed in the subway in New York. It's different. So like she's kind of just like experiencing like the horrors of life for the first time.
I think she was more supposed to be contrasting Julia,
You think so?
who represented like an older, more confident, more stern person.
Okay, I can see that.
And maybe I like that they made it swear that she does a flip. Like we've talked about this before, believability of a female character becoming stronger, right?
Yeah.
And they kind of start doing things more confidently or some shit.
Uh-huh.
And similar to Jamie Lee Curtis, the Halloween movies, Sigourney Weaver, and the Alien movies, I like Christy. I feel like she does a good job as a scream queen.
Yeah, she's really good at like just like freaking out at like everything she sees.
Exactly. And the ending of it so we talked about where she comes and she meets Frank, who is now wearing Larry's skin.
Uh-huh.
At first they try to just pass him off as Larry, right? We killed Frank. He's dead up in the attic. And it's all... Could you tell at that point that she was freaking out because of the deal that she made with the Cenobites?
Yeah, she was scared. She's like, "Oh shit, you killed Larry. Like Larry's my ticket."
Oh yeah, so fun fact I forgot to mention. In the book, she isn't Larry's daughter.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird.
Whose daughter is she?
Nobody's, bro. She's just some young chick that's like a friend, I think.
Glad they're the daughter, because otherwise this doesn't make sense.
Exactly. She just hangs out with this dude, bro.
Oh, no wonder Julia left, because she's over here hanging out with 19-year-olds.
Right. And I think she admires Larry, low-key, in the book.
Uh-huh.
But they never flat out come out and say it. It's just kind of hinted at.
Okay.
So in the book, when she discovers that, she thinks Frank is dead, and she knows that the Cenobites are coming for her, in the book, there's more, while she's like talking to, air quotes, Larry and Julia, she's hearing the Cenobites like voices in her head, like, we're coming for you. All this shit, all this foreshadowing. And her thoughts are, I just need to get away from Larry, because I don't want them to take him when they come for me and shit.
Uh-huh. Okay, so
that's a whole another like layer. So I was wondering if that was kind of like part of how she played that, like when she looks afraid.
I think it was, and she really wanted to find Larry too, so she like knew where he was. So she's like scared, and I think that kind of makes it a little more understandable for her to not realize that there's like that her dad like clearly has like a seam like in his forehead that's like bulging because of like it was like not him. Like it's clearly not him, dude. Like the whole every other scene with Larry in it, he's like well put together, and this one he's just like profusely sweating. Looks like Val Kilmer, like when he's about to die in Tombstone. At the end of it, where like the whole second half of the movie, he's just like a raging alcoholic.
Never seen Tombstone.
It is like ridiculous. Like he's just like looks disgusting for like an hour and a half of the movie.
Bro, did you notice Frank looks like that the entire fucking movie? The dude just looks sweaty
Oh, he looks
and
gross.
dirty, especially in the beginning when he's getting the box.
He's just like sitting there shirtless, like with the candles around.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have candles surrounding you and not be just sweaty.
Yeah. But nah, but what gives it away finally that that's Frank and not Larry to her? He does the infamous line. Come to daddy.
Come to daddy. He just like is like regular Larry voice, like, you know, like we can have a big happy family, we're all gonna get along and come to daddy. He's like, what?
Right.
He's gonna throw that in there?
So as soon as he says it, Julie knows, or Kirsty knows the deal.
I think he like almost did it on purpose too.
I don't think so.
Cause like immediately like Julia like jumps into action and grabs Kirsty and is like, I got you.
Well, yeah, but he even says, because she scratches the shit out of his face, and he goes, so much for the cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
So he was actually going to try and, like, play around with it for a while, I think.
And what was, like, the, like, goal of that? Like,
I think he legit wanted to, I think he's so demented, bro, that he wanted to, like, at some point, he wanted to, like, rape Kirsty, I think.
Well, yeah. That
under,
was
like, the pretense that that's her dad.
Oh, you think it's that deep?
I think it's that dark, bro. Like you understand like the level of Frank's perversion.
Yeah, like Frank's just like a legit like
he beat off bro while he was blind.
well, he was like surrounded by these Cenobites.
Yes.
So like, yeah, I guess you don't really get that, but like in the movie, like you definitely it's understood that Frank is he's setting his sights on Kirsty.
He wants her, yeah, and knowing it's his niece, which is weird as shit.
Oh yeah, that's not good. So he needed like an extra layer. That's why he pretended to be Frank. Oh,
yeah, I think so. I believe that's what it was, bro. He wanted to do some like Pornhub like shit.
Oh Lord, Frank.
But no, so
Boy got
I love also that whenever the thing Pinhead tells Kirsty is make sure he names himself. That's the only way it will come for him, right?
Yeah.
So when they're in the attic, because, well, before that even, like you said, Julia grabs Kirsty after she scratches the shit out of Frank.
Yeah, and we realize he's Frank.
Do you think he stabbed her on purpose?
Oh, yeah. He literally stabs, so Julia's holding Kirsty, and he comes with a knife to them both, and in a moment, Kirsty kind of turns to Julia, and Julia gets stabbed as Frank is thrusting, but it also immediately he's like, "No hard feelings, babe. It is not personal, babe."
Yeah,
and it's just like you meant to do that. You could have stabbed her. Like he could have pulled back on it. Like he put it in. Like it was
And then he started dug his fingers into her neck, and he started to absorb her. Right?
Yeah, he absorbed her as well, and she like immediately turns into like this little like squishy thing on the wall. That was a kind of gross, cool effect too.
So, did you feel bad for Julia?
No, I didn't. I just wanted to see if you did.
No,
I feel like some people might.
Nah. So Julia dies. There you go.
Stabbed.
And
life force sucked out of her.
Sucked out. She doesn't look nearly as bad as some of those guys did.
No, the guys looked worse. Probably because they got like bashed before. Like they got
that's true. They got
to the skull.
Up. So this all culminates in a face-off between Frank, who's wearing Larry's face, in the attic with Kirsty. And he manages to like strong arm her ass, right, to where she's like in a submissive position. And this is the part where I'm talking about, where she's like, "You're not my dad," or some shit like that. "My dad's dead." And he's like, "No, it is I, Frank. I am Frank, 100% Frank, who is about to kill you. Also, if you didn't know, I am Frank."
He's like, social security numbers 81403. You're just like, oh shit, like
I am 100% Frank. That's pretty much what he does.
Yeah, he gives himself up.
Does he not say very, very clear as day, like 3 different times? He's like, your dad. He's like, your daddy's here. Frank is here.
Frank, your dad's brother. But like, it just like spells it out, dude.
Pretty much. And so that's when the Cenobites show up, right?
No, just out of nowhere, just
clutch
with the swiftness, just in the room.
Baller as hell. and don't like all of the torture devices show up immediately. All the flesh is covered all over the walls and stuff again.
Yeah, the room turns into the horror scene from the first scene.
And at first, Frank and Kirsty are just allowed to kind of walk around, and Frank actually like chases Kirsty and he's about to stab her, right?
Yeah, because he's like calls her a bitch, obviously, and then like attacks her. He's like, "You won't get away with this, bitch!" And then like immediately some hooks come and just stop him in his tracks. Like
They
hooks
just start flying out
nowhere.
of nowhere and start just attaching to his flesh.
Oh, they just tear, like they stretch this dude out.
There's a scene where more hooks come. They go all over his body, including like 10 into his face that are pulling his cheeks apart. Like legit, his face looks like a pancake.
It looks bad. It looks like I forgot what I was going to compare it to. Go ahead.
But then to show like Frank's depravity, right? Julia takes one look at him as she's like, because Pinhead tells her, what does he say? He's like, leave now, because you're not. He's like, we don't want you to see the dopeness we're about to do in this room.
He says like, this is not for your eyes.
He's like, you're not worthy of the dope shit we're about to do to this guy. So she's like, all right, cool. And she turns around, takes one last look. And to show the depravity of Frank, as his face is stretched out like a goddamn pizza, that's how far the shit is spread out. He just starts sticking his tongue out, bro, and just licking and smiling at her, right?
Yeah.
Just savage as fuck, bro. And then did you see the last like little shot we get of him? Like as he just explodes into 100 pieces from all the hooks fucking coming out.
Oh, we get the quote first though.
What's the quote?
Where he's like, this part made me laugh. I thought it was a bad quote. He's just like all like hooked up and stuff, and he's like, Jesus wept.
I don't know what that means. I remember that. I was like, I don't get what the fuck that means.
I didn't think it made sense in that part.
No.
Do you know what that's from? That part of it. Okay, this is kind of like just me being a Catholic school person, so I know like all the Bible stories. So there is a part of the gospel where Lazarus is like Jesus' friend and he dies, and it like is meant to represent like that Jesus felt like pain like humans, and so like it's kind of like people try to use it in a really meta way all the time. So like Jesus weeping is like even mean like God like feels pain and like once, and so in this context it's kind of like,
so it's almost like the Batman versus Superman. Do you bleed?
yeah. It's just something like that where it's just like a little bit like of a weird like it's I guess I thought it was a little too ambitious and didn't really land for me. Like the original line in that part, he just screams "fuck you" at her.
That would fit better.
I think so too.
So that happens, right? And apparently the Cenobites weren't gonna honor the fucking deal. Because don't they all start stalking her throughout the house?
Yeah, Pinhead just had the fingers crossed behind his back while he was telling her. But he never really like guaranteed that it'd be okay.
Bro, how sweet was the shot? Because after Kirsty leaves the attic, she's walking back downstairs and she passes, the bedroom where Julia's like on the bed, her fucking face ripped open, and she's holding the puzzle box.
How did Julia get there?
What do you mean?
Because she got stabbed in the staircase.
Oh, they never show it. She just wanders. Literally, she must have just got scooped up and just put in that fucked up position.
By a Cenobite, they're like, oh,
yeah.
I can have some fun with this dead body.
So Kirsty walks in the room and she's kind of staring at her, right? Mm-hmm. And then that's when the female Cenobite chases her in there. And when she walks into a corner, fucking Pinhead's just standing behind her. But it looks like if he's like standing on a fucking box or something, bro, because he's like 5 feet above her head.
He's a little taller than he was, yeah.
And she turns around and she says the words like, oh shit, which is like the perfect like preview or whatever, or it's how we felt as the audience, because even I was like, oh shit,
for real. Because you really think that they're gonna let her go, because they let her go out the room, so you're just like kind of shocked that the Cenobites like didn't
honor the deal
at all.
And that scene is it's a beautiful shot though, where like he's standing behind her in the corner of the room, and he's about this much taller than her, like standing over, and it'd be like if you were in that situation, it'd be like, ah, fuck.
Like there's no comeback. Like I'm dead.
But so what she ends up doing is she tears the box out of Julia's hands, because Julia's alive still, right?
No, Julia's dead.
Is she?
Julia got killed at that point. Like she'd already been like Frank sucked the life out of her.
Ah, yeah. So she snatches the puzzle box out of Julia's hands. and somehow Kirsty figures out how to turn it into a weapon.
Oh, smart. Real quick. Just like, it's like a Rubik's Cube master. Just click, click, click. Boom.
Like thumb fucking over a circle. Literally, I feel like all she did was rubbed it.
She could probably pick up like any like video game and just win.
Yeah. And just starts fucking zapping Cenobites, bro. All of them.
So easily too. Like they
and
just
then there's
disappear.
that corny like light effect that they all do.
Yeah, it's like literally like, you know, like the picture-in-picture you used to be able to do with a cable.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can like put the little like corner like screen there.
Yeah.
Like it's literally just like that. It's just like a triangle screen, figures in the middle, and then they do like some cool like little like cartoon effects.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it for the Cenobites. They all, one by one, they all get vaporized.
Very easily. Gone.
Until, of course. Oh, yeah. And Kirsty's boyfriend shows up at this point.
The house is like falling apart. Things are going real bad.
He doesn't even know that she's in there for sure. But he's got a hunch. So he goes into the like collapsing house, right?
Bad call, dude.
And they run into each other. And it all stops because, she gets rid of all the other Cenobites. And everything gets quiet for a second, right? But then a doorway appears. Oh, no. He goes to open the front door, but she notices the puzzle box is still, like, undone.
Uh-huh.
So when he opens the door, it's this long, dark hallway. And here comes the engineer, you know?
Yeah.
With its fucking push-cart dolly thing. And what happens is the engineer and Kirsty kind of, like, start fighting over the puzzle box because she drops it, right?
It's really weak.
And I told my girl, I was like, why is she fucking slapboxing this massive demon monster that has claws, that has sharp teeth, and all they're doing is kind of this like, it's doing T-Rex arms at her.
Just a little tug of war. It's not really like the most effective thing for the demon either. He had, like I said earlier, a literal like scorpion tail that he could have hit her like real quickly, just ended the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, he gets sent back to the Hellverse very easily.
Yep. And what about the homeless guy, bro? I didn't get the homeless guy.
I think he was supposed to be like, so at the very end of it, Kirsty goes with her boyfriend to bury the box and get rid of it for forever. That's what they're doing, right? Or they're gonna burn it, right?
Yeah, they're gonna burn it in like some construction site or some shit.
Yeah,
some abandoned lot.
They're gonna end this thing, and right before that happens, the homeless guy shows up. He turns into like a weird, like dragon kind of looking creature.
A demon bat.
And grabs a box and just kind of flies away with it. I think the homeless guy and that character was supposed to represent like the watcher of the box, like the spiritual watcher that like kind of like owned it and knew its powers and just like brought it back to reset.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know like there's anything more to it than that, but I thought that part was weird because the whole time like we see that the demon, the homeless guy, is following around Kirsty throughout the whole movie, and you don't really get like why and like what kind of supernatural like attachment this has to everything else that's going on, or why it even like looks for her or seeks her out.
Yeah, it's very random, but I mean maybe that's kind of a play on that a lot of things are inevitable. Like it knew she was going to end up with the box, that's why it followed her.
That's true. It like was never like something she could escape from.
It was destiny, right? Destined. And but yeah. Fun note about the homeless guy. He had beautiful fucking eyes.
He's always like these like blue eye like human.
Didn't he have like gorgeous eyes like on this dirty ass skin and like fucked up outfit? And I just saw they had a close up on him. I was like, that man's got gorgeous fucking eyes.
Anytime like a homeless dude's in a movie, like it like kind of takes me out of it because like they never do like homeless people like they don't do them right. Because like one thing about homeless people, like when you like roll up on them, like their faces like and features like are all like weathered. Like it's all like it's not, you can't just slap dirt on like a Hollywood actor and be like homeless, which every movie does. There's like this guy's homeless. Like this guy is not homeless. Like he took a bath, he'd look normal, and that's not how homeless people in real life look. If they took a bath, they'd still look homeless.
Yeah.
Because that shit's a rough life.
True that. But no. So, I mean, that's pretty much Hellraiser.
I think we covered a lot. I think we did a good job.
How would you rate it?
Ooh, I really liked it. I think I'd give it a whole 5. 5.
Well, I do 1 to 6.
That's at 5.
So you go 5 out of
Yeah.
6. Okay, okay. You know what, sir? I'll meet you at 5. I also liked it, and I also feel like there's rewatchability to it.
There is a lot. Like it's one of those where it's not like this like overly grotesque movie that you can't just like put on. Like it's just like it's like a legit good, well written, well shot horror movie that's just like is gonna forever live in this like cartoonish like version of just like Pinhead, but like he's like that like that's just not the movie at all. It's like an actual like down to earth, really cool family horror movie.
They didn't overuse them.
No, they didn't.
Like when they come in, like it's a big deal when the Cenobites show up, right?
Yeah, kind of like in like Silence of the Lambs, like Hannibal Lecter's in like maybe like 12 minutes of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's all you think about because he's like the horror evil bad guy. But in that movie, I would say he had a bigger impact than what Pinhead did to this movie. So
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like we always reference Game of Thrones. Like
Uh-huh.
Pinhead's, the Cenobites are like the White Walkers, and fucking Lannisters are Frank and Julia, right? They're the
Yeah.
kind of upfront villains
Yeah,
when the over this like overarching real big bad.
like evil's in the background, but that evil's just and in a way the evil like really wasn't like the bad guy. It was Frank and Julia.
Yeah, all the Cenobites represented was what's it called? They were pretty much like the overall justice system. Like they were the actual scale in terms of, I don't know how to describe that. They were the equalizer.
Like Denzel.
Exactly like Denzel.
They really were. They equalized fucking Frank.
Right, because if you think about it, like Frank and Julia were kind of OP compared to Christy, but then the fucking Cenobites come in and it's like, no, 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 no. You go back down.
Yeah, they are just people. You need to really be scared of us. 'Cause, like we can just take you, unless you have this box and kill us with it, which is very simple.
I really recommend the sequel though, Fire.
Really, I thought that the sequel title was so bad that I didn't want to see the movie.
No, because the premise of what the sequel is so you'd think like, why would you ever touch the box again, right?
Yeah,
Well, because Frank was wearing Larry's skin. The point of it is that he might have took Larry with him to Cenobites,
oh for
to
real?
the Hellverse. So Christy starts getting like kind of how Frank did for Julia. She thinks like Larry's reaching out to her. And that's kind of where that whole plot is.
Oh, nice.
It's Kirsty kind of going like, "Ah, fuck, now I gotta save Larry."
Hellbound.
Hellbound.
Hellbound's like
Hellbound. Well, that's the name of the book.
for real.
The Hellbound Heart.
Is there a metal band called Hellbound?
I fucking guarantee there is.
Hellbound.
Nope, guys, but that's gonna be this part where we talk about the movie. Now we're just gonna freestyle a little bit. Have
I'm
good
ready.
times and fun.
It's not even freestyle. We're talking Justice League.
Yeah, it's pretty much just the Justice League segment. So the 4 hours Snyder cut was released. How'd you feel about it?
It was too damn long, dude. Like
Did you fall asleep?
I didn't watch it all in one sitting. I watched it maybe over 5 sittings in a week, which kind of
5 fucking sittings, bro?
it's 4 hours. That's 5 sittings of 45 minutes apiece. That's a lot.
Bro, movies are 2 hours long. Just watch it twice.
I mean, I couldn't really like get deep into it. Like it was okay, so I would give it a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
Movies. I thought it was a good, fun movie that just like, like it was good. Like it was just like I was entertained the whole time. There's not a lot like bad I can say about it.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of these people out here, they're trying to like be the edgy people and be like, oh man, like
This was God's gift to cinema.
this was amazing. Have you seen Zack Snyder's full vision, his five film vision, bro? Have you seen it? Do you know this man's a fucking genius? And I'm like, dude, like it wasn't that. Like it was good, but it wasn't that.
Yeah, I feel like the media is pushing that narrative a lot. The whole thing with Joss Whedon and Ray Fisher, the cyborg character. Have you seen all that stuff in the news?
Very strange. And like I really like the cyborg character, and I wish he had a bigger part in the actual film, but like that's like a
But
whole another
like,
rabbit.
so we saw the whole thing with the Snyder cut. Was his part that big?
It was pretty big. I think he had a big part.
Well, I mean, it was big, but like, was it great? Like, they're making it out that his arc was something we've never seen before. But personally, I mean, all we saw was Cyborg play football, a little bit of a dynamic more with his dad, and that's about it.
The thing that like these movies need, which I think that Cyborg gave him, is that grounding element. So like without any of Cyborg's character and story and development, it's just a whole bunch of heroes trying to save the world from a big bad. And this, I think Cyborg's character actually gave them like, oh, my dad's involved. My like everything's like kind of like a little more personal to me. So you kind of need that person that has the personal stake in saving the world or in like what he's doing.
Listen, I hear all that, but my biggest problem was, so Cyborg's dad, well, Cyborg has that car crash, right? And his dad has to like, he bestows him with the power of the box, right?
Yeah.
And after he gives him the power of the box, he tells him, look, he's like, you're the most powerful person in the world. You're the most capable person in the world with all that I've given you. You're the best person to be in this position. Why? We saw him play football. He tried really hard to score a touchdown.
He got there.
And that's it.
Yeah, we don't really know
He had daddy issues.
anything else morally about him of why he's a good person or anything like that. His character is really just.
It's underdeveloped even with the extra shit in it.
I think so. I think you're right. But I think that his character was like important to have that like personal stake is what I had.
Exactly. Like, I'm not one of them people who's all like, because there's a narrative, right, that's out there. It's like, oh, we need more black superheroes.
Uh-huh.
I'm tired of this shit. Like, no, I'm not like that. I just want good characters, man. I want the character to be warranted. To be honest with you, though, everybody in Justice League is pretty fucking underdeveloped.
Everybody in it. And I think it just became like a whole. But like, it's just like, you can't just cut the dude's. Like, I didn't see a reason for cutting his story because his story is like kind of like the connective tissue of this movie that I said is okay, not great. Like, I'm not here pushing that. Oh man, like this dude has like a beautifully written backstory and everything like worked perfect.
Well, yeah, because literally just today I read this article that it was on Yahoo. It was like Joss. It's because of Joss Whedon that we didn't get one of the greatest superhero arcs in the modern movie era.
And that's not
That is Cyborg, right? That's definitely, what's that thing called? Virtue signaling, right?
Yes.
Where you're trying to be edgy and say like, oh, this could have happened if blah.
Yeah, and I think Twitter and like a lot of like that kind of like helps to like it piles on each other, so it's just like constant. You can't say anything against like the black character because then it would be a backlash that you are just kind of targeting that person because he's black, which happens a lot to like black people, but like this isn't like it's just like you can't really go against like what are you gonna say to combat someone on that article without being like racist, you know?
Yeah, you really can't like,
or without coming off as a racist. So like that kind of like, and also like this movie, like something with like these huge films is like you can't like just be in the middle on this shit anymore. Like you can't just be like, hey, that was a decent movie, I had fun watching it. You have to either really love it or be like, oh, it's trash.
yeah, I'm definitely with you though. Like, I'm in the middle.
Like it was good. I liked it. Like,
It was fun to watch. It had fun parts.
like the scene at the end when Batman's like rolling in the car and like all the superheroes are next to each other and just like kicking ass on the way to the middle hive is fucking one of the cooler like superhero movies I've seen in a while. Like parts of the movie because like we get full Batman against like legit aliens and you can like sense like the one thing I liked about this movie is like the whole with Batman you sense that like he's out of his league.
Yeah.
Everybody else is like on the level of like, okay, like we're here to fight these aliens, like we can do that.
Everybody's practically invincible, but Batman's just there in a costume.
He's here in a car.
He's in his cosplay, bro. That's all Ben Affleck's doing. He's cosplaying Superman.
Yeah, and he's just like literally just like in a car, and like I thought that was really cool because he was like, "Damn, Batman's bad." Like that was one of the most badass like Batman sequences ever.
I thought it was hilarious, the scenes when he's in the Batmobile, and whenever they'd show him, it was just a very unflattering image of Ben Affleck.
He had too much lean backwards, so like he was kind of like
He's always kind of like
his chin was kind of like
his like scrunched up, so his arms are pushed together.
Like that's why I think it was cool. Like the Nolan Batman, he was like in the car, like leaning forward on it. It makes him look a little like more strong and in charge, even though like it'd be like a stupid way to drive a car like that because all your weight's on it. But it makes him seem like he's just like is more controlled and just.
It's a more flattering image for the actor.
He's like laying back. It's like he's getting like. Okay, I'm not gonna say it. But
My favorite parts, bro, was anything with Superman. Like, listen, Superman is my least favorite character. My least favorite superheroes. Not least favorite, but I don't care for him as much as others because I feel like he's not an interesting character, right?
yeah.
He's very Mary Sue, very Captain America-esque, right? He's always doing what's right. So for me, for them to even like toy with the idea of him being, Darkseid Superman, or to show him, that little scene where he fought the Justice League, like that's what I want to see, bro. I want to see Superman doing fucking epic shit, bro. I want to see just that conflict.
And I think that's something that the Justice League really like brought out, and really like any like of the comics or like graphic novels that involve both Batman and Superman. Like one of the relevant and prevalent things is that Batman is legit terrified of Superman. Like Batman, like in the comics, keeps Kryptonian, Kryptonite. My bad. Kryptonite.
How dare you?
He always has Kryptonite like stashed away just in case. Like it's always like, hey, like. This dude is like awesome, good, and is like our savior. But also, like it's not like if it went bad, it goes bad, like quickly. So like I really like that they kind of like the whole time like everybody has that like reverence for him and loves him, but also is like very much like he's not just like he's not just one of us. Like he is above us, and that is scary because the only thing we have that like keeps him grounded and keeps him good is his humanity. And if he loses that, or if something happens to that, like we don't know what can happen.
Have you seen Brightburn?
I've heard of it. I heard like it's super cool though.
We should do Brightburn next.
I'd be down.
Nah, but yeah, dude, fucking. Yeah, he has tangents or failsafe for all the superheroes. I think that's like an arc in one of the comic books. Is that Batman has like a one stop be all for like every single superhero, not just Superman.
That's why he's the best.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the world's greatest detective, man.
He's just like, okay, like
who doesn't do any detectiving in this movie? And that's right, I said detectiving.
He doesn't have to. He's like has like satellites up in the air.
He's got money, bro.
I was thinking about like the satellite part. He's like, I have 4. Like you know that part where he was like talking about satellites. I was like, it's not impossible. Say like Jeff Bezos is sending out like for the military like 5 or 6 different like satellites, just put them up in the air for the military or whatever, like doing like some work like that. Who's to say you couldn't just like pop a few off up there on your own, and like that no one really like battled.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm pretty sure like Elon Musk and shit has some up there.
Like you don't think he has his own satellite?
Probably. Like ever seen what's it called? Kingsman?
No, I've never seen that.
You've never seen
I've
Kingsman?
heard it's awesome too.
Holy shit, that's next level. That's action. It's not even horror, bro. Go home and watch that whenever you get a chance. My dad put that on blind for me, bro. Honestly, one of my favorite action movies ever fucking made. But no, so in that movie, there's a part where like wealthy people are talking, and at some point, somebody jams the signal, so a satellite doesn't work. So the wealthy guy picks his phone up and he goes, "Hello, yeah, Bill Gates, cool. Can I borrow one of your satellites? Mine went down." So like that's what you're talking about, is that the wealthy people have their own fucking satellites and shit.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would get like hung up on like the implausibility of Batman, but I'm like, have you seen how billionaires act in the world right now? We don't know what Jeff Bezos does when he's not like on his weird like rants on like online stuff like that. Like who knows?
So the main problem with Superman, right, is that essentially we know that he is so strong that we're all ants, and he's essentially a child, and at any point he could just pluck your fucking legs off.
It's done. Yeah, you don't have to
easily, bro, without any nothing. Even if you have kryptonite in your hand, he's so fucking fast. He could, or hell, he could stand miles away like a sniper and laser beam you, bro.
Like for miles, just he doesn't have to do the He doesn't even have to do like Cyclops and touch his eyes. He just like
Bro, just
has
it's just done. He's as fast as the Flash. He could tear your limbs off by just like it's just so over the top. Like you can't even we can't even fathom how powerful this man is.
Yeah.
And that kind of messes it all up.
Kind of
Because
makes
in
it
any
boring.
situation, you're like, why isn't this guy decapitated?
Yeah, it's just like it's like dumb. It's like okay, like he's just like the queen in chess. Like it's over. Like you can't really do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You're just gonna lose. So
You ever seen? What were you about to say?
I just don't really like Superman movies that much. Is what I'm saying.
You ever seen that show on Amazon Prime called The Boys?
No, I've heard that's cool too.
Oh, you know what it's about, right?
It's about like real life superheroes or like
It's basically a mirror of the Justice League
uh-huh.
if they were all evil.
What, bro?
But they're all like making movies and shit like Marvel style, and they're all like celebrities. They're on Twitter and stuff, and everybody loves them. But low key, they're all terrible people.
Oh, bro.
And so it's about like the collateral damage survivors that are like trying to stop them.
Uh-huh.
But it's very grounded in real life based. Like if me and you were to decide to try to kill Superman, how would we go about it?
Oh, that's cool.
It's a very dope concept.
I would watch that. I would watch that for sure.
But no, so yeah. I mean, I watched it in one sitting. I started at 8 o'clock at night. I fell asleep at the 2 hour mark for an hour. Rewinded it back an hour, and I got done at like 1 a.m.
It's just too what did you think of the epilogue? I thought the epilogue was pointless, except for when they showed the Martian Manhunter.
Which part? The part where they go to the apocalypse future?
Yeah, I thought that was stupid.
I thought it was cool.
I thought it would be cool if they like showed them like surviving, but it was literally just a scene so they could give Joker a monologue.
That was Zack Snyder's Hail Mary for the studio to let him actually shoot some more movies, I think.
You think so?
Either that or that was him pandering to fans going like, if they had let me do something, this is what could have happened, guys.
I would have gave you more Joker, guys. You know you guys love Joker. Remember Heath Ledger? He was cool.
It's completely ridiculous to think how they would have gotten there, but...
Yeah, like, that whole part of, like, them, like, just bringing Joker along for something is just so stupid. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Because, like...
Well, no, I mean, that's the real Suicide Squad.
No, really?
Yeah, because he's in the Suicide... I'm pretty sure. Not because
No,
I know
he's
they
never
put
in
Harley
Suicide
Quinn.
Squad. Joker isn't. I don't think in any of the comics he is. Because, like, they'd never trust him.
I don't know. I don't know enough about it to argue for sure about it.
I'm pretty sure he's not. Because, like, Joker's just, like, the one guy that's like, no.
I always thought he was possibly in one of them because there's different iterations of the Suicide Squad, like a fuck ton of them. I don't know for sure, but yeah. So that's what I pictured though. Was like this is what the Suicide Squad should have been. Like the Joker, Deadshot, anybody fucking else they could find.
Yeah, it's just all these random people. Like it's just like it was just like why is Batman like in this crew? And, like if you already have like one human who like you have to like care around Batman, like why are you bringing Joker who's just like over here fucking everything up?
Mm-hmm.
Ever like so I was just like
it's an interesting concept. It'd be a cool dynamic to see like a full movie of.
I think it's something that they're like, oh, we're not going to get another movie, so let's just like kind of pander and do this like cute little scene with like all these like villains and heroes together, and like we're gonna make you guys think like, oh, it's like this meta cool thing, but it's really just it's a comic like book movie. It's not like too deep, like it's not that much. So I think like I hate that like DC tries to do that a little bit.
Yeah. I told you I liked it. I liked the whole like tease of what it promised.
It just gave the fanboys more to like fanboy.
Here's my thing though. I didn't like Jared Leto's performance that much, bro. I feel like he doesn't have the voice. The look was right to me, but the voice just wasn't there.
Not at all. Like he doesn't have like that like
he doesn't have the delivery. It's not a distinct enough voice.
And he doesn't have like the where like you think like this dude's unhinged but also like completely in control at the same time, which I think the Joker like should have.
Yeah, like I think he had the unhinged part, but he definitely doesn't command.
He doesn't, and Joker should have the command. Like there's like Joker scenes, like the Jack Nicholson scenes where he just like is completely in charge of like the whole room, and obviously with Heath Ledger, like the scene where they go up to the penthouse, and he's just like in front of like 100 people talking, and just every single like you can hear a pin drop except for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like in charge. Like I don't think that Jared Leto ever really had that part when he played Joker in Suicide Squad or any of the movies he was portrayed Joker in.
Yeah, but I mean, I felt that way also about Joaquin Phoenix as Joker.
I think that was just like a different take on that. But like in this like superhero verse, like he has to be like
I think,
bigger.
like, you know, the cartoon version of the Joker was Mark Hamill, fucking Luke Skywalker, right?
No, was it? I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
he's the guy who does the cartoon Joker
Uh
voice.
huh.
I feel like him and Heath Ledger's Joker is so like vocally a thing that it set a bar that even Joaquin Phoenix couldn't do.
Not at all. Like he like was very like
It was
subtle with
very,
it.
very. He talked very sweet and soft. Very. Can I tell you a joke, Randy? Something like that. Like
Uh huh.
really, the voice just right off the bat, the voice fucks me up. The look is there, as was Jared Leto's. I feel. I don't know if you like Jared Leto's look.
I didn't like him in like the previous movies where he was like the gangster Joker. Like
The
he
slick
was.
back and shit.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
No,
I like the long hair though, and like the crazy looking face in this one.
I think that was a cool take, and it fit the post-apocalyptic narrative.
Yeah, even though it's just dumb that he'd be there with them. I thought it was funny. He was like, when Batman was like, he's like, trust me, I will fucking kill you. Dude, Ben Affleck is like I low key like really like Ben Affleck. Like Ben Affleck like as Batman like just did a good job like portraying like being terrified of everybody and like just having like a duty to get this like kicked off. And also he's just like the perfect level of corny when he tells his jokes. Like it's good. Like I like it. Like it just like works for me.
It's definitely a fun take on the older Batman.
Yeah, it's not like as serious on himself, but he's super serious too. And it's a kind of like meta being like, oh, I'm serious, but I'm like, it's like ridiculous how serious I am.
How do you think Robert Pattinson's gonna do?
I think it's gonna be awesome. I think I'm really.
You think
excited
he's
for
gonna
that.
kill it?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think it's gonna be like really freaking awesome.
You ever seen Batman Beyond?
Which one's that?
The one where Bruce Wayne's an old man and the Batman,
Oh, the
some
cartoon?
teenage kid, yeah, where he
Yeah, I've
has
seen
all
that,
black suit.
Probably like the first season of it,
Yeah,
where he
yeah.
has like the red bat in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
He's
It's like in
he's
the
the best
future and
Batman
shit.
suit.
That shit was fire.
It was that.
I think it'd have been cooler to see him do that. Like, I want to see a younger take on Batman. Maybe that's what this is gonna be.
That'd be cool. It'd be crazy if like he walks in and like Bruce Wayne's like there.
I know in the on the CW bro in the Flash universe, that's what they're gonna start doing.
Yeah.
They're gonna like bring in the multiverse. So there's Michael Keaton's Batman, fucking the Supermans. They've already started doing it with all the other Superman actors and shit.
Uh huh.
And I've heard they might bring in a Batman Beyond character, which
What?
would be dope.
For real?
There's like 50 seasons of those though. Fuck catching up.
With the Batman Beyonds? Or the Flash?
No, of the Flash.
I
'Cause
like
it's
watched
all-
some of it and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, but I was like halfway through like
Fuck no,
some
dude. Because
seasons.
it's intertwined with the Arrow, the Supergirl, and each of those are like 5 seasons deep and shit.
Ooh, I might have to go on a binge.
Uh,
But actually, I don't care about DC stuff that much, so I'm not gonna do it. I haven't even watched WandaVision yet, so we're definitely not watching The Flash on CW.
Yeah. I think I saw like the first 5 of WandaVision. It seemed cool, man, but it was kind of slow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like not really like the demographic for like the superhero shit, anyways. Like, I don't really care for it that much, and I just don't need someone telling me how great and like how like well put together and thought out this like superhero movie was when I'm like really like it's not that deep. Like it's really not, and you're trying to tell me that this Zack Snyder is a genius and is something different than it is than what I see with my own 2 eyes. It's good, but it's not like something on another level.
No, definitely isn't. It's okay. Is it better than the Avengers movies?
No, it wasn't.
But I mean, like that's what we've been saying is the characters weren't as fleshed out as like Iron Man, Thor, and all that shit was.
And I don't think they were even super fleshed out, but they understood that they didn't have to like make their personality choices like insanely like huge decisions. They just had to make me have fun while I watched the movie. And I think when I watch the DC movies, I just have a little less fun watching it. And that's really all it is to me.
Mm-hmm. Nah, man, but so we're coming up on 2 hours. Not a bad episode.
Not bad at all. I think it was good. I really like the whole Justice League rants we went on.
Yeah. So you like Justice League more or less?
Yeah, I enjoyed
We
the
we're
movie.
both in the middle with it, right?
I'm very much like it was like a 6 or 7 out of 10, maybe 6.5. Like I enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd watch it again, like because it's so long. But
I'll give it a confident 7.
yeah, it was good. I liked it.
Nah, man, but with all that being said, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this episode up. I think this is number 19.
19.
Yes. I got a dude coming on Monday. I think I'm gonna do American Psycho.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, because I'm reading that book right now, and I've already watched the movie, so I'm like, why not?
That's cool.
It's a terrible fucking book.
Is it awful?
Horrible. It's 16 hours.
Oh Jesus!
And
So
I'm like 6 hours in, bro, and it's more or less the exact same movie, just with like none of the comedic elements. And it's like it's just like the exact same movie with like stretched out 30 minutes for every 2-minute scene.
you get that with some like every like a couple books. Like most of the time the book's better than the movie, but then sometimes the book's like okay.
I haven't gotten to like the disgusting parts yet, so maybe that's what I'm waiting for. But thus far, bro, like I said, about 4 to 6 hours in, I'm struggling.
It's funny.
But no. So Brightburn for the next one.
I'm down to watch that eventually. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. No, but all right, Nick. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
And guys, make sure to check out the Facebook, Instagram, or also on TikTok, Death Taco Podcast. If you're looking for the audio version, Spotify, iTunes, Google. I don't know if I said YouTube already, but we'll say YouTube again. With that being said, another day, another review. This has been the Death Taco Podcast.